Madoka's design is meant to look very unassuming. It's a big, poofy skirt, the all-pink color palette. It's meant to lean into the facade of the typical magical girl genre, so when the subversive twist happens in episode 3, you're more caught off guard. I guess Madoka Magica as a series is old enough to be considered a classic by now, but even when the show first aired, Madoka was meant to feel like a classic magical girl. Innocent, cute, pure. The bell of her skirt is meant to look like a rose that's been turned upside down, which is the most noteworthy part of her design. Like I said, she looks rather unassuming, and that's sort of the whole point. Sayaka is meant to look like a white knight, a knight in shining armor, a paragon of all that is good and virtuous, tying into the theme of convincing herself and those around her that she became a magical girl for selfless reasons, though we all know that's not wholly true, and maybe that idea gets reflected in her design a bit. The actual armored part of her outfit is rather small, meaning she's not nearly as ready to protect others as much as she might have initially thought. Though with her healing abilities, I suppose it doesn't really matter how much armor she actually wears, and seeing so much of her skin helped to highlight her healing abilities in the show proper. She feels like a perfect combination of someone who's trying to take this seriously, but also like someone who's just wearing a costume. Homura's design is very simple. Honestly, it doesn't even really read as a magical girl outfit, at least not at first glance. Instead, it's designed after a nun's uniform, not only hinting to Homura's prior upbringing in a religious school, but also hinting to the overall religious themes of Madoka Magica's story. Just like the story itself, it seems like Homura is subverting the expectations of these clothes. Almost like it's a dark irony, or maybe that she's mocking the concept of the church by wearing this outfit. Her dark hair and much more muted color palette compared to the other girls automatically makes Homura feel different. She visually shakes up their foundation just by standing near them. One thing I really like is Glasses Homura. The version of her that starts the story, the tied back braids and red framed glasses makes her feel closed off, held back, like she's restraining herself from truly unleashing all the power she's capable of. Mami has one of the best designs ever, and you can tell because every single figure of hers is really expensive. No, but for real, she's very eye-catching and iconic. Those blonde twin tails, her always stoic expression, and her perfectly accented rifleman's-inspired outfit, she's so pretty. The soft, almost coffee-colored browns really accent the yellows in a delightful way. She looks very purposefully put together, which is fitting given her more mature personality. But hinting at that somewhat naive side of her, she also doesn't look very fit for combat. She has a lot of cute frills, and unfortunately has added a huge accent around her soul gem, making it even easier for enemies to notice. Of course, she didn't know about these dangers when it came to being a magical girl, and her design perfectly displays that blissful ignorance. Similar to Homura, Kyoko is wearing an outfit reminiscent of religious garb, though specifically it seems like this is a slightly more sporty-themed version of the coat her father used to wear, based on Kyoko's backstory episode. In all honesty, the outfit is fine. It's cute, frilly, fun, but what really makes Kyoko pop is her other design elements. Her wild, untamable ponytail, her sinister smirks, her pointed teeth. It's pretty clear the outfit she wears was designed by a version of her who's long since forgotten. Now that she's running around wild on her own, picking fights for territory and stealing food to survive, just like the character herself, Kyoko's design has a subtle complexity that makes her really stand out. Madoka seems to be taking heavy inspiration from Princess Serenity from Sailor Moon. The long, pure white, simple flowing dress, the long strands of hair billowing all around her. In the language of magical girl shows, this is the classic formula for a goddess design. I like the extra details, like how the galaxy itself is the design on the inside of her skirt, and the gold eyes make it feel appropriately grand, yet also reserved, just like Madoka's decision to make this wish. My favorite is this really small detail. She now seemingly has 4 other gems adorning her top to match her soul gem, making it 5 gems, seemingly to symbolize the 5 members of the Holy Quintet. Devil Homura is fascinating. Her dress itself seems directly based off of Madoka's god dress. Whether that was an intentional decision by Homura herself to look more like Madoka, or just a side effect of Homura stealing a piece of Madoka's godly powers, is up in the air. The cut in the pattern down her collar of her dress makes it look like a broken heart, matching Homura's own brokenheartedness over losing Madoka. Her wings aren't real, like the bones are, but the feathers themselves seem weirdly sewn on, almost like she's mimicking Madoka's true wing motif. And maybe it's just me, but the straps of her shoes look a bit like hands, like they're dragging her down. Top it all off with a dark red bow, styled like one of Madoka's, and this whole design is a chilling, twisted version of Madoka's god status and of Homura herself. Nagisa is unique because Charlotte was designed first, and then they had to retroactively design Nagisa to match her original design. I think they do a great job with just incorporating a lot of the same colors and shape language seen with Bebe, while still giving some unique elements too, like her very long, flowing white hair and her adorable suspenders. However, I do think she loses that iconic simplicity the other girls had. The others only have 2 or 3 different colors in their designs. Nagisa has a ton because Charlotte herself had a lot of different colors going on too to begin with. The design overall works, but she does tend to really feel like a stranger standing next to the others. Iroha is meant to almost look like Madoka, so at a glance you see the white and yellow details, pink hair and eyes, and this specific art style and go, oh yes, Madoka Magica. But she definitely does have her own style beyond that premise too. Her hood and cape have a distinct bird-like design to it, alluding to her story's inspiration of the Intergalactic Railroad, but also the initial main characters of Magia Record seemingly was styled after RPG classes. Iroha being the rogue. The skin-tight suit definitely adds to that idea, though I do admit she actually looks awfully unprotected. Like, put a shirt on, honey. Yachiyo is so unique. We don't usually see magical girls in full-length dresses, mostly because it tends to get in the way of the character, both in-universe and while animating cool action scenes. Fortunately, Yachiyo makes it work, though I do admit the star details feel a little lazily tacked on. I'd expect something more refined given she's a fashion model. Beyond that though, her design is very standout, feeling appropriately armored, yet also mystical due to the amount of jewelry and high-end fashion elements that are woven into the design. A perfect fit for her character. Tsuruno's big side ponytail always instantly catches my eye. It's a fun, playful style for her to wear her hair, and the large flower accessory jazzes things up in a big, cool way. And it's fortunate her hair is so eye-catching, because the rest of her outfit is awfully simplistic. It's not bad by any means, it just doesn't really stand out much to me. She does a lot of acrobatics and stuff, so the cute, sporty look is fitting. I just think there are other, much more interesting designs in Magia Record. Really, it's her weapon that's the standout thing with her design. Sana is seemingly designed as both the princess of a story and as the knight in shining armor. A fun duality that perfectly plays into the contrast she feels in her personal side story. Beyond that premise though, I admit I'm just a huge fan of how many frills she has in the design. A big regal crown, a billowy skirt. Too often I think people get hung up on the accessibility of a magical girl's design. I personally prefer it when they go ham with the fantastical, magical qualities of the medium. Sana is a refreshingly beautiful, ornate change of pace. Felicia is one of the most iconic new designs for Magia Record. The little yellow cow-inspired horns on her hood are instantly noticeable, especially paired with the extra long twin trains to match her pigtails, and the large goggle accessories. You can't miss her. I like how comfortable the rest of the outfit is. The baggy leggings and sleeves sort of hint to her carefree childishness, though I admit the exposed midriff sort of goes against that idea. Nevertheless, Felicia's hyper-specific accents and style choices make her a super fun and super memorable character. Momoko, I'm sorry, I find her design awfully boring. In general, I think heavy armor is kind of bland, and she's not really doing anything to stand out, at least not in ways I like. The extra long ponytail is neat, but it's also really simplistic, especially compared to all the crazy new, interesting characters we got introduced to alongside her. This shade of yellow is not very pleasing to the eye, and the worst part, Honey, where are your pants? She's waltzing around in literal panties. No, the armor doesn't make up for it. I'm just really not a fan of this one. Rena is meant to look like a pop star. That's what inspired her to make her wish, and she nails it. The over-the-top frilly dress with all the colors, the stripes are designed to look like spotlights as if she was on a stage, and that's cool. But also I feel like it's reminiscent of the idea of repeated mirrors, leaning into her ability of copying people's appearances. The skirt is short, like how a pop star would need it to be for doing their dance choreography. It's perfect, and perfectly hits all of the themes for her inspiration. Kaede has a sorcerer/witch theme for her design, and I'm glad they were able to play with this aesthetic without also just making it feel Halloween-y. Kaede is connected deeply with nature, and they lean into that idea a lot with her autumnal color palette and accessories. But she doesn't feel like a Wicked Witch spirit Halloween costume thing either, and that's really cool. I also like how Kaede has a similar silhouette as Rena. They're meant to be a pair, and they do that by keeping their hairstyles very similar and giving them similar outfit shapes, but they still manage to keep them feeling distinct and like their own characters too. One of my favorite designs, hands down. Alina Gray is so cool. She's so iconic. Her green hair, her hat, her eccentric personality, you can't miss her. I also love her skirt. It's hands down the best part of her design. The different pleats being slightly different shades of green to blue look reminiscent of like paint strips for testing colors. She's an artist, so having a paint-like theme in her design without resorting to something like splotches of paint is a really nice touch. She's a great example of strength and simplicity. Her accented details are simplistic, just like normal fishnet stockings or normal bracelets, so it makes her more interesting features really pop, especially that long green hair of hers. This shade of green could have easily felt overwhelming in large quantities, so I'm glad they kept her outfits palette reserved and muted to complement her hair instead. 10 out of 10, a fantastic design, one of Magia Record's best, I'd say. Mitama is meant to be some sort of maid, and I guess that comes across. The pristine white gloves and the frilly cravat and the coattails, the tied back hair. I can see this and see where the maid theme comes in. But if I didn't know any better, I might also just guess she's royalty or something. I guess her design is fine, but honestly nothing special. I know she's supposed to not have an element in the old app game, and that's why she's so monochromatic, but it also makes it really easy for Mitama to just fall into the background. To nitpick, I don't like the ribbon and the flower in her hair. Like, just pick one, or combine them, that'd be really cute. It just feels like the artist couldn't decide what they wanted and slapped both on willy-nilly. I don't know, I'm not really a fan of this one. It's technically fine, it just bores me. Nemu's design is fantastic, and she sells her gimmick immediately. Child genius. Bam, there you go. The three little girls are all technically geniuses, but only Nemu ever really seemed to sell that concept with her design. The graduate's cap makes it feel like she just finished high school or college, implying how smart she is to have gotten this accomplishment, and then the rest of the look feels like a play on a wizard's cloak. The cape especially gives me that vibe. The pattern feels a little bit more simplistic, and the colors aren't as refined as all the other girls I've talked about so far, but also, well, yeah, she may be a genius, but she's still a little kid. Kid fashion isn't as sophisticated as a middle schooler's would be. She's just so unique and adorable. Fantastic. Toka is cute, I can't deny that. The shoes especially are amazing, I'd love to have them, actually. The large bow is cute, the frills are cute, she looks almost like an old Victorian doll. But also, this tells me nothing about her character. Toka is sort of like the headstrong one of the team, and this frilly outfit doesn't really sell me on that idea. Basically, everything about Toka is the opposite of what I said about Nemu. Whether you think that's a good or bad thing is subjective, I suppose, but I personally preferred how much story was being displayed with Nemu's design. But Toka isn't bad. Like I said, she's adorable. A cute little girl in frills and bows is always going to look cute. I don't know, I just feel like she's cosplaying as the villain, rather than really embodying it, you know? Ui's design does a good job looking similar to Iraha without just being a copy of her. The slightly different hairstyle and eye shape helps with that. Design-wise, I really like this look. I think the hat is cute, I think the shoes are fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of this softer color palette on her. It complements her hair really well, but I also feel like this design is a little boring. It's awfully boxy looking with the straight hard lines to section off the solid colors. It's incredibly uniform. The only thing that isn't symmetrical is her hat. It's not bad by any means, but I do feel like it's missing something. Just like a little bit of an extra pattern somewhere or something, you know? I will say, it looks a lot better when she's in motion, so that's good at least. Mifuyu's hair tufts are meant to look like a great horned owl, and that's cute. When a character is in almost all grayscale, it makes any pop of color really prominently stand out, and I think it was a really smart choice making the red ribbon tied under her coat the main color on the design. Because of the cut of her coat, it leads my eye back up through her design to lead to her face, so the red color doesn't distract me from her expressions or anything. Also, keeping it a much softer shade of red helps with that a lot. A bolder color could have easily been distracting. To gripe though, I'd say her skirt is a tad too short for my liking, and also, I think her hair accessories tend to get in her way. Maybe they're just a bit too big, you know? The Amane twins have basically the same outfit as each other, which I think is hyper boring, but what are you gonna do? When you see them side by side, they are different. Tsukasa's hair is split into two, so it frames her more. Tsukuyo has a longer piece that covers her legs a bit more, so there is something. I think the outfits are really cute. The really high frilly collar and large frilled sleeves is very pleasing to the eyes, especially when they start moving. They always have large swooping arm motions to help accentuate this feature. That's fun. They tended to have a lot going on with their doppels, but I lament the fact their usual stances are sorta simple in comparison. Their weapons are small and simple, and I think their shoes could have really had something extra going on too. They're neat, and they're fun whether you're looking at them together or individually, which is nice. Kanagi's design being all stark white with little pops of black and yellow really makes her stand out. Amongst a sea of girls with a bunch of patterns, bits, and bops, her hyper-refined style makes her immediately eye-catching. That, paired with her militaristic fashion choice, instantly makes her feel different from the rest of the girls. The gold adornments feel like badges to signify her superiority, and the black fur accents give her the vibe of someone who has riches or is important in some other political way. She might as well just be screaming, "I outrank you." If I had to gripe, I wish there was just a little splash of black on her shoes, like on the soles underneath, just to help balance out the abundance of white, like how her cape is doing for her top. Eternal Sakura is very unique, both as a part of the story and as far as her design is concerned. She's technically not human, and her too smooth hair with the little horns really helps to sell that idea. With the shine in her hair, she almost looks like she's made of porcelain, like a little glass doll. But then, that paired with her more technological design elements, like her glowing bracelet, her hair accessory, and the whole power button on her collarbone, instead makes her read as robotic, which is neat. She definitely comes across as otherworldly, which is what the design is aiming for. I admit I don't like the missing holes in her skirt though. It looks interesting visually, I suppose, but I just think it's more distracting than anything. Kagome tends to read as someone very immature. Her large eyes and the little stuffed toy she carries around really hammers home that idea, and honestly, I wish that idea was reflected more in her design somewhere. She's supposed to be based on a mandrake root, the mythical veggie that screams a lot, and yeah, I can see that with her stuffed animal, and the plant designs for her outfit tends to lean into the idea too a bit, but like, why? Her role is information gatherer. What's the mandrake got to do with that? I mean, it's a cute design, but of course it is. It was cute on Lilymon 2 decades ago when it first came out. This is just ripping off her style. This whole design feels in conflict with the character it's supposed to be a part of, and it feels like it lacks creativity. I'm just gonna come out and say it. The artist who designed her made her eyes way too big. Like, I know anime styles tend to have much larger eyes, that's fine, but like, proportionally to the rest of her face, and compared to all the other girls she stands next to in-game, her gigantic eyes come across as alien-esque, like a bug monster running at you at full speed. Her gigantic, terrifying eyes are so distracting that you might not have noticed how painfully boring her outfit is. I get it, she's a runner, and a breathable, sporty outfit makes sense, but this barely even reads as magical girl. I just don't like much of anything with this design. I don't even like the color combo. The red outfit is fighting with the bright blues of her gigantic eyeballs. Well, they can't all be good, I suppose. You might look at Yuna's large horn and think she's meant to be referencing a unicorn, but no. Her design is actually based on an oni. It's a lot more obvious once you see her club weapon and her rather gruesome transformation sequence. A lot of the rest of her look is clearly leaning into that oni inspiration, what with the traditional kimono and shoes. The reds and grays look really nice with her dull yellows, and the shape and patterns of her outfit really gives her a vertical feel. Your eyes will always go back up to that large horn, which is good because it not only leads your eye to her face, but it's also the most interesting part of the whole design. I think she's really, really neat. Hikaru seems to be heavily designed after a little soldier's uniform. My uncultured American self can't discern if it's meant to be a British-inspired one or French-inspired. I'm sorry. If you do know better, please help inform me. Anyways, her tightly done-up style is appropriately military, but also adds just enough pizzazz to give it a magical girl flair. The sleeveless top, the long frills on her undershirt that looks similar to a skirt, etc. I'm conflicted on her soul gem though, because this vibrant magenta does not match the rest of the look at all. It's awfully garish, which is a shame. The soft yellows and peach orange and blues are really pleasing to the eye. But, on the other hand, I like that there's a matching gem on her hat. Only one of these is her real soul gem, so presumably an assailant would be unaware of which is meant to actually be her weak spot. It's actually pretty cool, and a fitting strategy for someone with a bit more of a militaristic eye. I'm sorry, but I really don't like Ao's design. If you're familiar with these characters, you know that there's several designs that tend to show off some skin. I'm not a huge fan, but there's other elements to the design that I do enjoy and I think overpowers that aspect. But not here. No, it's just too much. The shoulders, the tummy, the thighs, no. I don't like it. It doesn't match her character. She's meant to be lonely. She tricks and forces people to be around her. What about this design conveys that idea? First of all, even beyond that, the design of the clothes is really lame. Really simple, solid colors, and the thing around her neck that loops up around her pigtails is goofy. Really dumb looking and goofy. Absolutely zero redeeming qualities with this design. Garbage. Shizuka has a lot of religious themes surrounding her design and her character, so leaning into a very traditional style with the long flowy sleeves, small dangling details and accessories matches her style. We don't see gray hair very often for magical girls here, and I think the overall desaturated palette for her outfit complements her gray hair in a way that's very pleasing, letting the gold accents feel more vibrant and gives her a bit of an authority this way, without making her come across as gaudy. It's cute overall, blending the traditional flavor with the modern-day magical girl cutesy pizzazz associated with Madoka Magica. It's very well executed overall. I have nothing more to really say. Juri is a dragon. She has a flamethrower. She has little draconic wings. Her headband is designed to look reminiscent of dragon horns. She's a Western dragon, and I like that because I like dragons. A part of me thinks the long backpack that looks like she has a dragon tail and the literal flames on her coat is a little too much. But also, if I was in middle school and wanted a dragon magical girl design, this is exactly what I would come up with too. To gripe, I don't like her dress though. The solid white doesn't match the style of the rest of the look, and having her legs exposed just feels dangerous. Like, you're gonna burn yourself, kid. I wish they went all out and committed to leather, spikes, chains, basically just a Bowser magical girl, you know? Renaka is a gamer. Even her weapon is a video game controller. I think my favorite element about her design is the pattern that looks reminiscent of an SNES controller on her tummy. That's fun. Though I admit, I wish the gamer gimmick went a lot harder though. Like, yeah, she's really cute. The black and pink looks great together. She's done up like a doll, and that is cute, but like, I don't know. I wish she had gone full gremlin gamer mode, you know? Whatever. Like I said, the design beyond the gamer idea is cute. These colors are fantastic together, and the patterns lead your eye up through the design towards her face. And I like how they play around with the asymmetrical pattern on her skirt. Very cute, but lacking in some personality, I'd say. Chiharu's design is fun, because I got to learn something new while taking a closer look. Apparently she's designed after an okappiki, which I hope I pronounced that right. They were the equivalent of the police force in the Edo period of Japan. And yeah, she's got that in spades, down to the same weapon and everything. But in true magical girl style, the outfit has been jazzed up with some brighter colors and cute accessories. The little wing detail keeping her hair up is particularly precious in my opinion, but because of its inspiration, the design overall is a lot more reserved than most other designs in Magia Record, lacking a big billowy skirt we usually see, even with the more simplistic or sporty designs of other girls. It definitely makes Chiharu come across as someone who's taking this very seriously. Tsunao's design is awfully busy. The sheer black pattern on her arms and neck is just a bit too much. You have to be careful when doing a design like this. All these crisscrossing dark lines just drags your eye away from the character's face. Especially so here, since her hair and eyes are the same muted color. They're really easy to overlook next to this over-the-top pattern. I think they threw on the headpiece with its gold accents to try to alleviate this issue a bit, but it mostly just makes her design feel busy. Especially with the dotted yellow accents on the flare of her skirt. Then suddenly throw on this light purple coattail on the back, and just, what are we doing here? I get the feeling they had too many ideas and didn't know how to edit this design down to make it feel more cohesive. Karine Misono is known as the magical girl born on Halloween, and her design perfectly plays into this idea. She fully embodies the idea of a Halloween costume-style witch. How she rides her scythe around like it's a broom, her giant hat, her striped Wizard of Oz-style witch socks. She excels at all of these ideas, and that's great. Though I admit outside of those details, her design is a bit lacking. It's not bad by any means, it's just simple. I appreciate how she has a star motif all throughout the design to tie the whole look together, but I do have to be honest about my biggest gripe. Her hat is too big, right? It just swallows her up. It almost tips out of being an iconic, recognizable witch's hat and almost just reads as a heaping mess. I don't know, maybe I'm a witch hat snob, but I'm very particular with how witch hats should look, and this ain't it. Nanaka is cool. There's no other way of putting it. She is a cool warrior who exudes coolness and confidence, and I'm not usually a fan of one-note color palettes like this, the hair, eyes, and outfit all being the same color, but it just works really well here. I think it's how simple and sleek her actual style is. The simple color palette feels like a compliment to her strength-forward style and personality, but there's still enough extra design elements to give her more of a unique pizzazz. The flower accessory is gorgeous. The sleeveless frilly shoulders are super cute. One of my favorite design details that ties the whole look together is that the pattern on her skirt matches the cut pattern of the ribbon on her bow. Sometimes it's the little things that can help a design feel a bit more cohesive. I really like Keiko as a character, but man, her design's just so busy. It's so much, and a lot of these character splash art images for her really highlights that. There's so much going on. She's wearing 3 layers, all different colors with different patterns, one sock that has a jagged edge and the other leg is just wrapped up in a ribbon, which is completely different color from everything else in the design. There's so many shapes going on and so many different directions, and all are different colors. The biggest saving grace for her design is her hair. The style is cute and simple, it frames her face really well, and the flower accessory having that perfect circle in the center works as a bullseye to draw your eye towards her face. There's definitely problems with the design. Being so busy and cumbersome, I feel like we lose out on seeing her personality and character on display here. Similar to what I was saying before with Nanaka, I don't usually like it when a character's hair, eyes, and clothes all have the same matching color. Mayu here still is a tad one note in my opinion, but what really saves the design is the little details. I love this hairstyle, and the ruffled framing of her hair buns are so cute and helps to break up the monotony of the color palette, but most importantly, her weapon is awesome. Claws are just straight up cool, and a large flared out sleeve really helps to draw your eye to her claws, almost framing them to make them stand out even more. I do have to admit though, without those awesome weapons, her outfit is just a tad on the boring side. I think just one other color or simple pattern somewhere could have really elevated the look. Oh wow, look at this cute girl. Look at her cute pink hair. Well, her heart-shaped accessories are so cute too. All these colors and heart shapes are just so cute. Oh my god, she's not wearing pants. So, yeah, unfortunate, I'd say. I really don't like this design. Honestly, I might end up covering her up because I'm not even sure I could show this without getting a monetization strike. It's just such a shame, because the rest of the design is so friggin' cute. I love these colors, I love these patterns. I think she's a really cute, clever style to display the fire element, but dang it, put on pants! Look, I'll just edit this design to give her shorts. See? See how that doesn't take away anything from the design? It's so stupid. So unnecessary and stupid, and unfortunately derails any conversation we could have about the design, because the only thing anyone would focus on is the fact she's not wearing pants. If you don't know anything about Saika, you probably look at her and think she's cold and uncaring. Not only her stern expression, but her design literally leans into that idea too. The thick furs and frills feel like a perfect match for cold weather, and the ornate details like the patterns and her little hat give her an air of regality, making her come across as sort of royal almost, cold and superior to others. Which is perfect because that's not who she is, but that's what everyone in her life thinks she is. In reality, she's super shy, but when she gets shy or nervous, she gets this serious, cold, stern expression, so people think she's distant and uncaring. A perfect design to perfectly capture the character's personal conflict, and is still stylish and cool and helps her to visually stand out from the crowd. Mito's design immediately gives me Fae vibes. The greens and browns feel intrinsically tied to nature, and the shape of her cape is reminiscent of fairy wings. The puffballs in the designs feel like a play on dandelions, and the nature vibes get perfectly tied together with the 4-leaf clover pattern threaded throughout the outfit. Honestly, this is just a great take on nymph-like design without overly relying on exclusively flower imagery or patterns. Her simple style is recognizable with these unique hair buns, and also kind of feel like they're designed after bear ears or something. This is like the perfect example of how to do magical girl druid, simple yet incredibly effective at delivering on the themes in a creative little way. Nice. I'll be honest, I tend to get distracted with her gigantic gigaton laser cannons she drags around everywhere. They're an awesome weapon, we can't deny that. But when I do stop to look at the actual outfit she's wearing, I think it's perfectly fine. I like how they don't cheap out and lean into the more mech-like concepts. Adding big, blocky metal shapes into the outfit would have just taken away from that unique aspect of her weapon choice. But the sleek, form-fitted bodysuit and the hard stripe patterns still deliver on making her design feel futuristic or mech adjacent. Bit of a personal thing, but I am usually not a fan of yellow and orange together. The black accents help to break up the brighter colors, but it is still a little overwhelming for my eyes. I'm also not a huge fan of the long flowy cape detail, and the lack of a real skirt is not really great either. Maybe it's a good thing the weapons are what really catches my eye. Sasara's design feels too bulky. This picture especially highlights that idea. There's so many frills and layers and stuff everywhere that her shape language just gets turned into a blob. Her wild hairstyle looks really neat and distinct when she's in her school uniform or casual clothes, but adding the large brimmed hat, the poofy shoulders, the cape, and that distinct aspect is just hindered by the bulkiness of the rest of the design. The half skirt is more goofy looking than anything. The red hat and collar feel like they're strangling and squashing her head. There's crisscrossing patterns everywhere, and my eyes get stuck in the middle of the design. There's just no cohesion. It's such a shame that a neat character like her gets stuck in one of the lamest outfits. I would totally understand if you felt like these colors were a bit too garish for your tastes. I sorta agree, but I also appreciate how different and distinct this color design is. Honestly, my biggest complaint with the design is how little actual clothes she's wearing, because I would have liked to see these colors even more here. Unfortunately, Himika is another casualty of Magia Record's questionably underdressed design umbrella too many girls fit under. There are many ideas here I do like. The sort of clown like pants, the little superhero cape, and her literal punching glove staff, they're fun and give her a wacky circus performer vibe, which is really unique for a magical girl, but man, the lack of pants is just too distracting. It is such a shame, such wasted opportunity. I like Asuka. I think she's a fun character, but I can't deny it, I think she has hands down the most boring design in the entirety of Magia Record. I understand her character is meant to be straightforward, and a simplistic design like this leans into that idea, but also, come on, these are magical girls. Give me a pattern on her sleeves or something neat going on with her skirt. There's just not a single thing in this design that's doing what we haven't seen done executed better in someone else's design. The colors are really drab and the shape language is blocky and basic. There's no personality here, and it unfortunately makes her easy to overlook and forget about it. So much so, I almost forgot to even do a short on her because I kept looking over her. When designing a magical girl, I want something magic to stand out in her design. Whether it be a really unique accessory or a standout pattern, this leans too far into being just a regular traditional outfit, and so it loses that edge magical girls are expected to have. This design is a good example of how to do a simplified color palette, but still make a design stand out. The blue with the X patterns threaded throughout, while very simple, is very pleasant to look at. The placement of the blue patterns also helps to lead your eye through the design, helping to land on her face with her matching blue eyes and the little blue bow in her hair. The frumpy, oversized style of the design does mean Ren's silhouette feels awfully blocky. She can read a bit as a blob, especially with her boxy hairstyle, but it also leans into her personal characterization, someone battling depression. This feels like a magical girlified version of an oversized hoodie, but still has enough unique pops of detail so it feels appropriately magical. I appreciate that all three of the Azalea House girls have the azalea flowers in their designs. It's a neat, simple way to make them feel like a matching set. The blue is a very lovely color, especially paired with all the black in the design, helping to make the brighter color pop more, but I do think Konoha's design out of the three girls is the most simplistic. It matches her character, being the oldest of the three and the leader of their team. Her simpler style choices feel like practical decisions of someone in her important role. There are still enough little details to make her design feel unique. The diamond pattern on her stockings are especially cute, but I can't deny that design-wise, she is my least favorite of the sisters. I mentioned that Konoha's design is my least favorite of the Azalea House sisters. On the flip side, Hazuki's design is the absolute best in my opinion. The cape that drapes across her shoulders like a cool kid wearing their jacket on their shoulders is just so sporty, and I love this style. I think she has the perfect blend of white, black, and yellow in the design, with no color feeling too overpowering or underutilized. The little red diamonds feel like a compliment to her younger sister's color scheme, and ties the two of them together in a way that makes sense for what's happening in their story. The angles and the way everything is cut or styled gives the design a good sense of flow. Even her bangs and the placement of her flower in her hair leads my eye through the design, and perfectly punctuates her face in the center of it all. 10 out of 10, I love this one. I feel like there's too much pink and white and not nearly enough black in this design. The other Azalea sisters had a good amount of black details in their designs, and that helped their brighter colors to pop. But Ayame barely has any, not only making her feel like less of a match to her sister's designs, but also means her outfit can feel a bit too bright, especially in certain artworks. I think the shapes and patterns are cute, the bunny socks are especially one of my favorite accents in any design ever, but okay, I'll just say it. She doesn't need the eye patch. Like, she doesn't have any vision impairment or anything. She's just seemingly wearing an eye patch because it's different. I'll give her that. I don't know, I suppose it matches the idea that she's very young. Her outfit feels haphazard, like how little kids kind of just come up with random things to wear. It's not bad by any means, just not one of my favorites. Masara is a hard one to discuss the design for because her whole personality is that she basically doesn't care about anything. She has no passion, so even her outfit wouldn't be a thing she truly cares much about. So any lack of cohesion or the sort of emptiness of the design as a whole could kinda work as part of her character. Fortunately, the design still has some really standout details. The impressive head accessory is especially eye-catching. I think they wanted to lean into her mirror gimmick. The sheer skirt and sleeves feel inspired by glass, and I think it's a unique detail that matches her character. The corset feels a tad busy with all the frills and its stripes, but also the rest of the design feels very reserved, so I think it sort of balances out a bit. It's memorable, that's for sure. Rika's design is so straightforward that it almost feels like a parody. Like, it's so much just a generic magical girl design that I wouldn't be surprised if people didn't even immediately recognize it's from Madoka Magica's universe. Her weapon is even a little compact mirror. Maybe the whole design is sort of an homage to older classic magical girls like Sailor Moon, who have that same style and weapon choices. I mean, heck, she even has the sailor uniform collar after all. It's so weird because personality-wise, Rika is such a cool, distinct character who ends up engaging with a lot of different girls in the stories. But every time she's in her magical girl outfit, it's just so simple and generic that she feels like a background character. I suppose it's nice and cohesive, but there's not really much else to expand on here. Sometimes a weapon can overshadow a magical girl's design. The gigantic lollipop is definitely an example of this. I wish the yellow in her gigantic lollipop staff was somewhere prominently threaded into her actual outfit, because honestly her design is a little one note. It's cute, the large bonnet is charming and matches her style of a patissier, and I really love the giant thin ribboned bow ties in her hair. I think they're very cute and stand out. But overall, the frills and simple color palette just feels like it's missing something. Maybe like a pattern somewhere, or maybe a unique cut to the clothes shapes. Honestly, I think if they incorporated this white and blue stripe pattern more into the look, that could have easily jazzed it up for me. Ashley's design has a lot going on, but that's sorta on purpose. She has a maximalized personality, and the many different shapes and patterns and colors are a perfect reflection of that. It's awfully busy, and I can't deny that my eye tends to get stuck in the middle of the design, but I also think some of her accent details are very standout. The large frills on the shoes, the scrunchy style bracelet, the little gremlin guy and her hair accessory. Look at that dude. How fun. Honestly, my favorite part is just the pink streaks in her hair. Admittedly, it stands out a lot more when she's in casual clothes, but it matches the brighter style of her magical girl outfit really well too. That paired with her bright pink eyes to help lead your eye back to her face. It's not easy doing a character who's over-designed on purpose, but I think Ashley is a lot of fun. I think her blood red eyes are really, really cool, and I think her hair color is really pretty. But man, there is a lot going on here, right? The first time I saw her, I thought she was like a dragon or a knight, but after getting a closer look, I'm honestly just a bit at a loss with the whole thing. The cage-like pattern and the many crisscrossing shapes going in a bunch of different directions, it's all just so much. A million individual bullseyes that drag my eyes in every which direction except towards her face, and the overall aesthetic feels confused. Her wish was for morning to never come, and I get that idea being reflected with the bat accessories. They are nighttime exclusive creatures, but the shoulder piece feels draconic and doesn't match that style at all. And then there's the bright pink and blue undercoat that completely clashes with everything just going on here. It's just a jumbled mess of stuff that seems like the designer couldn't have any solid idea of what to do with this character. Natsuki's big thing is sports, but I'll be honest, if you didn't see her baton weapon or her golf visor hat, that premise would probably not come across very well. Though I can't deny that this outfit is real dang adorable. I might just be a bit biased because she was one of the first new girls I pulled back when the original app game launched, but I've always just really had a soft spot in my heart for her. The little details that are green and yellow add a refreshing splash of variety to the design, so it doesn't feel too one note. Also, I like how the blue of her outfit isn't the same as the blue for her hair. Again, so it doesn't feel too samey. I like her a lot. I like this sporty, fun, cute as heck outfit. It's not doing anything revolutionary in the magical girl world, but it's still plenty pleasant in its own right. Shout out to my $10 patrons. You're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Holly, Messiah, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Rain, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin' Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, Hutmut Butt, Primaroon, Steve, Overhypen, Plague, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, Peter, Agiri, Shahid, Eden, The Eliza, Minnie, Liv Lobotomy Sane, Doki Pokey, Fanboy, and myself.